Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the PivotBoss pre-market video for Thursday, July 24th, 2025. I am Frank Ochoa, aka PivotBoss. Happy Thursday, everyone. Here's a look at the ES in the daily time frame. Right now, a super narrow range heading into the RTH Open. Just 25% of ADR right now. Super compressed, 13.25 points of range. We have a super narrow compression that is developed after yesterday's strength, especially late day strength. We had a nice squeeze late into the close here, especially on Google earnings, helping to pop things late in the day for the market at large here. And that continues to trigger this melt up phase that we continue to experience here. Now we are getting a bit overvalued at the moment. This is value right there by way of yearly VWAP 5840. Currently that dot right there, which is we're about 10-15 points away from it, that is R3. That is the third standard deviation above value. Now that doesn't mean it hits that level and we drop right away, but we are starting to get overvalued here. We could drive through the level, build above that level, and any failure to hold above that R3 value would suggest a rotation at some point down the road. But again, trending up until proven otherwise, and until we see that big rejection day, that big 200 to 300% of ADR day, that's going to suggest that the current near-term move is up. Is currently over for the moment, but that doesn't mean any pullback couldn't lead to some strong Q4 finish. So we'll start building those ideas as we head into August here. But for right now, very bullish compression heading into the RTH Open, super narrow range. The expectation here would be for price to continue to build back and forth, and continue to build out. Overall, that midpoint from the previous session, the high from a couple of days ago, that could be a spot where price bounces here, gets back to the highs, perhaps closes the week on a high here heading into Friday. But at the same time, heading into next week with the Fed on deck for Wednesday, we could be looking at kind of a range-bound start into next week and Wednesday before we get some big-time volatility by way of the Fed and also by way of multiple Mag 7 stock earnings. All right, looking at the NQ right now, NQ currently compressed as well, not quite as much as the ES, but fading into the previous session's range a bit. Again, these markets could make a move into the previous session's midpoints. Failure to hold the mid, and you're really opening up the potential for an outside day down, even though it might still be trading range bound. You know, meaning you go down but finish here, maybe the next day we bounce back up. So that would be the midpoint. You really don't want to fail at the midpoint here in these markets today, but returning back to the midpoint, very big possibility, and then bouncing off of it could be how we end the day here. Looking at crude oil. Now, crude has remained stuck. It continues to hold above that 64 level, which is a very important level, but any bounce has been a selling opportunity for this market. Really, anytime it's closed the day higher than the open, it's been sold almost immediately right afterwards. So this thing right now continues to show overall short-term weakness, but mostly sideways price action over the last couple of months here, or at least 6 weeks. Any failure at 64 and you're filling the gap down below here, or filling that 5820 FOMC key level, and if it can hold 64s on the next bounce, then you have a shot to go to 70. But really, this market has been depressed here lately. 70 would be a long shot, and if it did get there, it'd probably get smacked right back down at the moment. All right, looking at the YM. The YM right now with a great range, super solid range. This was a great reversal here and marked the low very nicely for this range. The top end of the range is still up here, but kind of got a little bit of rounded behavior, failed new lows, very bullish. At some point here, we may see this thing lift through that level yet again, and that compression right there could open up the next, 1,300 point move to the upside at the very least, which could be a nice continuation up. So again, keep an eye up on these levels here. We're not quite as overextended as the ES, so we may have one more rotation that can take us into this zone right here, and that's where R3 is for the year. Value here is 42,460, and can we make it one more leg into that 46.5 to 47,000 zone? All right, let's look at Bitcoin here. Bitcoin right now compressed, 8-day compression right now, or is that an 8 or 9 day compression here? There's at least 13,000 points of juice built into this on an average range basis. If you look at about an extended 125% projection, this thing's looking at like 16,000 points of energy. So best case scenario could be one strong move down, failed new low, and from that low projecting higher 15,000 points. That could be a great way to get us into the 30s, at least 15,000 points, but get us into the 125, 130 zone up above on the next pullback. So big time energy here for this market. Now a failure at 110 could open up an even deeper pullback, and if we did get that deeper pullback, here's the bounce point there. So a couple of spots here to watch, but continuing to build energy until proven otherwise. A quick look at gold. I did skip gold a little bit here. This one down about 1% today, so pulling back pretty hard. That 34.50, as we noted for multiple months now, has been big time resistance. And I noted here that this could be a big time test in the zone, but until we break through there, we may be stuck. This has been a huge reversal now on a Thursday from the early part of the week. The early part of the week, we were hopeful that we might develop into a breakout transition week by the end of the week. Yesterday was going to be important, and of course, big time smackdown. Another thrust reversal, exactly as we've seen time and time again at these highs. And 34.50 continues to hold serve as big time resistance. Now we do have an ascending quality here to this range with a flat top. So eventually the expectation is for a big time upside breakout as we've anticipated, just not at this moment. How deep of a pullback do we get next? This might be a great reaction that may take us down a bit. How deep do we go? That could be a next great opportunity to pick it back up within the range and maybe ultimately lead to an upside break down the road. So 34.50, big time level there. ETH up about 1+% right now. This one's hanging in there. The expectation would be for one final push at least into our final target zone above, which is between 4,000 and 4,200. We've had this at a buy at 1,400, 2,200, and now once we get to 4,000 to 4,200, we're looking at the next opportunity up ahead. And so we're zoning in on a little bit of an area down here. We're talking about it in the trading room. If you want more information regarding that, you can see the link in the description below. But the next opportunity could be the next double for ETH. Again, any pullback could be a buying opportunity, but at the moment, looking for this thing to finish this move, and if we see a mature correction, there could be a big time opportunity there for ETH. For right now, can we get one last push to the upside here before, say, failing below 3,400? All right, that is it for now. We'll see how this plays out heading into the rest of the session. Good luck, trade well, and I'll see you in the trading room. Take care.